in 2013. It was my senior year. You came to speak in my high school, and it was actually on college day. And I remember you speaking about your journey, as a young mother. And your story resonated with me because I was sitting in the crowd. You didn't know me. You didn't know what I was bringing into that arena. But I had just showed up to campus having left to go to the doctor with my Emory College shirt on because it's college day and I'm just know what my life is going to be like as a 18-year-old, as salutatorian of my class, as everything I had been raised to be, having found out I was 2 months pregnant.
Summer Owens, and I'm back with another episode of So What Success Stories. Today, I have a really special interview because up until this point, I have been talking to people I've known for years. But instead, today, I'm talking to someone who's known me for years, but I haven't so much known her for a whole lot of years. But she has an incredible story that I know is really going to bless a lot of people. So meet Ebone Allen. And Ebone is a FedExer. And as everybody knows, I'm a former FedExer. And so we have that in common, but we have some other things in common too, which she is about to share. And Ebone is an HR Generalist at FedEx Services. So Ebone, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, thank you for having me. So as you mentioned, Ebone Allen, I work for FedEx Services in HR on the DE&I team. I live in Arkansas, been here my entire life. I'm from Forest City, Arkansas, and I first somewhat met you, or at least became familiar with you in 2013. It was my senior year. You came to speak in my high school, and it was actually on college day. And I remember you speaking about your journey, as a young mother, and your story resonated with me because I was sitting in the crowd. You didn't know me. You didn't know what I was bringing into that arena, but I had just showed up to campus having left to go to the doctor with my Emory College shirt on because it's college day and I'm just know what my life is going to be like as a 18-year-old, as salutatorian of my class, as everything I had been raised to be, having found out I was 2 months pregnant.
That's so powerful as you pause that. It's powerful for me and the work that I do because it encourages me and it inspires me to just keep on going because you just never know who you're talking to and what they need. And so, Ebone, I'm so excited that I was able to be there in that moment for you. But go ahead, finish telling your story.
But yes, you gave your presentation and typically your classmates, you've gone to school with them your entire life. And I just felt like, in which it was not the case, like all eyes were on me. I was trying to listen to you in a sense, just map out my life at that point because I knew I had to pivot. Giving up, just not going to college was not going to be an option. I couldn't maybe go to Atlanta, but I still had to go to college. In Forest City and the surrounding areas, it's really just 2-year colleges, which nothing is wrong with that, but I had done all the pre-work, all the scholarship applications and everything to go to a traditional 4-year college. And this was March, April, maybe May, because I was 2 months along at this point. So it's really not enough time to just scrap everything and redo. Like school would be starting in August. So I did not go to Emory. I went to the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. I had, stayed in touch with those recruiters, that DE&I office for the business college, probably for the previous 2 or 3 years. So I knew I had a village there. And I knew that I would not have a full ride like I would have at Emory, but I had enough scholarships to where it equated to a full ride. So in a sense, I was being paid to go to school. I was getting a refund check. And my great granddaddy, his favorite word, as successful as he was FREE. And it was never free. He always spelled it out.
I like that word.
Spell it. It was free. So I knew, coming from a single parent household, there was no money for school, but the expectation was to get an education. And now that I was about to be a single parent, again, I knew I had to continue on. So I went there. I studied accounting. I did enroll. Traditionally, it's 4 years, so no part-time, no online. I was actually in honors college my first 2 years because that was a goal of mine in high school, was to like, all right, I need a 28 on the ACT to go to honors college and da 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 da. Really, honors college doesn't matter for a job. So,
but I understand because I did that too, Ebony. I didn't know that I did too. I ended up getting an honors degree, an honors diploma because of the honors classes that I took. So we have that in common too.
Yeah, Spanish was the end of me. I dream deferred. I was like, you know what? No honors still gets the degree. It still gets your stage. I stuck it out for 2 years. I did. But my due date was actually on what college campuses call dead day, which is the day before finals happen. Nothing happens on that day. So I'm entering campus probably 5-6 months along at that point. Freshman, 4 or 5 hours away from home in the mountains. It's cold, new environment, culture shock. University of Arkansas is a PWI school, and just knowing that I had to get it done. So a lot of students don't realize what's available to them. So I rearranged my schedule so that I only took 13 hours that fall, but I did bring in concurrent credit courses. So I had, pretty much a semester plus already done from taking classes in high school. And taking AP classes and testing out of those, like English and those basic courses. But I took 13 hours, and no professor wants to deliver a kid in their classroom. So I'm up front like, hey, you see the stomach, it's to be expected in December. I'm going to need arrangements made, and I'm delivering him back home. I'm not staying up here, to deliver a kid. So they worked it out to where I took 2 of my 4 final exams. I took them like the first week of December versus like the 3rd or 4th week. And then I had until the school gets you an extenuating circumstance like paperwork, or so to speak. They're speaking to the policy, but no one really knows about it. So I had until April of the following semester to get my other 2 courses done, my other 2 final exams.
Let me say this. Let's take a pause there and let's have a little cliffhanger. and I'm gonna ask you some of the questions that I'll ask, and you'll have an opportunity to finish that story, because that's really I love what you're saying, and I know it's going to answer some of these questions. So in this program, I have what I call the So What Success system, and that's when a person learns how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices, and they can achieve so what success. And that's success in spite of any obstacles they face. And Ebony, you have demonstrated that, and you've begun to tell an amazing story. And I can't wait for you to get towards the end and tell a little bit more about it. So first, let's talk about some obstacles that you've had to overcome. And so you've started talking about one. Share a little bit more about that, or talk about another obstacle that you've had to overcome.
The biggest one would be maintaining that full-time student status. Because again, I was full-time enrolled. I had to meet the requirements for my scholarships. So, even though the school gave me to April to get done with my first semester, scholarship deadline is February. You need your first semester grades in to be renewed. So honestly, I had to be done by February 15th. Christmas break is only 4 weeks long, maybe had 5 or 6 weeks, for bed rest, delivering my son. But yeah, maintaining and trying to work out my class schedule and hours to where I wasn't overwhelmed, where I could still parent and work and student and maintain my scholarships, because the refund checks is how I pay my bills. My job is really was like my splurge money, or so to speak, my day-to-day money. But like rent and taking care of my kid was actually from my financial aid refund checks.
Can relate to that too. That sounds so much like my life. Exactly what I talked about in the book. So, okay, so that's overcoming obstacles. And so you talked about that. Maybe go ahead and share a little bit more about your story and where you were going with it. because the next question I'll ask you is about excuses. What are some excuses that you've had to eliminate to be able to be successful? And so one, you started talking about graduating, finishing, taking your finals and graduating. Talk a little bit about some of the excuses that you could have made, or maybe that you have made throughout your life, and how you got through those excuses.
The biggest excuse I could have made, the whole 4 years, is being tired, being sick. That first year, I felt like I was sick the whole time. I mean, the first semester was the pregnancy. I got induced to have my son. My doctor words were, you only have 4 weeks. He's a big baby. You don't want to have a C-section. So we're going to schedule you so that you can go back on time in 4 weeks. Companies give 6 to 8 weeks for postpartum. I had 4 weeks. Again, it's cold. It was a snowstorm that year, actually. People can like Google 2013, Fayetteville snowstorm. But also when I left to come home to have my son, when I took my finals early, I was actually beating the snowstorm. And I kid you not, I left the day before it came through and shut everything down. I was like in Forest City getting the alerts and everything. It was like, campus is closed due to ice and due to this and da-da-da. But yeah, 4 weeks for Christmas break, went back in the springtime for the next semester. I had January and February to get done my other 2 finals. Did not study over Christmas break. New mom. That didn't happen.
You had your hands full.
I had to just wing it. Had to get that done within 2 months. But then come to find out, my gallbladder was messed up from the pregnancy.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I was sick pretty much that whole spring semester, my second semester of freshman year, which sucks. I had a fully loaded meal plan. So imagine all the good food circulating, you can't eat it. Had a good meal plan. So the whole time, like, I wanted to have the surgery for the removal spring break, but I came across like a non-traditional doctor. He was very hesitant, which, I respect that. He said it could go wrong and you can't go back to school on time. You need more than a week. And I went back to Fayetteville. I would always come home on school breaks. And I would come home also every other weekend. So again, it's 5-hour trip back and forth. So that was another challenge in, rearranging my schedule. So where I would have my weekend, no Friday classes, no early Monday morning classes. But yeah, just being tired and sick. And I ended up actually having to have emergency surgery. I can remember it being maybe the end of April of that spring semester, because again, right near finals time. I never had a traditional final schedule that first year. And I maybe was down no more than a week and a half. So I had to get back for those review courses, those review study sessions for finals. So imagine, like I said, having surgery and, doctors, or I couldn't even carry a backpack.
Wow.
College campus, postpartum recovering from a gallbladder surgery, then having to, get back up in gear.
But you did. And so tell me a little bit about how you got rid of that excuse where you were just like, because, you just had a baby, you just had surgery, you're in pain, you're dealing with sickness, you're dealing with illness. You could have just said, I'm not going to do school right now. I'm going to sit out this semester. I'm just not going to do it. How did you get past that?
I believe heavily in like representation. So one, I never seen anybody that like did the taking time off or this, that, the other, and end up successful. But two, I knew that I probably wasn't the only one out there in the world dealing with life. Now, I hadn't seen anyone deal with what I went through, but I knew that there could be worse things. I have a great family, friends, support system, and I knew I needed to provide for my kid. And I knew where I wanted to be post undergrad, regardless of what I had been through, senior year of high school, my whole 4 years, I had the end goal in mind. And honestly, studying accounting, now I had worked accounting jobs, actually for a Black female CPA during high school, and she went to the University of Arkansas. So I knew what the job world was like, but the classroom, I hated it. Like, I hate it. I hated school. And so I didn't want to stay there any longer than I needed to.
But you knew it was necessary.
I hated school. But there, I will say I did drop out of my head every single day. I did.
It was only in your head.
I did, but I just had to, and I'll also, remind myself of like, hey, I felt like I was kind of designed to overcome things like that because I was born prematurely. And, my whole life, my mom has told me about how much money I've cost her because she's like, you were supposed to have all these things wrong with you and this, that, the other. You only had a speech delay. You tested out of the ABC school program. I had to pay for you to go to school. Like you were, extra from the beginning. So
wow.
I knew I was like designed to just overcome. And again, I had family being my mom all the way up to 2-3 generations. So like I had multiple great grandparents. And even to this day, I still do. I have 2. One of them is a 98-year-old great grandmother. So I had, people motivating me and setting that high standard. My great grandparents had college degrees, so
that is
I couldn't actually quit. I could think about it, but I couldn't actually quit. And I knew I wouldn't be able to get the kind of jobs that I wanted either. Like I didn't have any kind of crafty or hobby skill set that people have, and they have an Etsy shop or I didn't have any of those skills.
So yeah, so you're like, okay, I gotta stick with this so I can meet. What's so funny though is as I'm listening to you, I'm like, we have so much in common because your mindset was exactly the same as mine. It's like I hadn't seen people who quit and had a successful life, and especially if they were a parent, And so I was like, that was something that motivated me too. Where I'm like, I don't have a choice. Now I am a first generation college student, so I don't have that story of people before me who went to college, but I do have my grandmothers. One is 95 and one is 99. And they are truly, truly special to me too. So I love that that's a part of your story and part of your journey too. And I'm so proud of you. I'm looking at you and I know you are a young woman now. But just even for me to think about that, I became a part of your life back when you were in high school, before you even had your child. It's really special to me. Well, the next part of the SOA success system is learning how to calculate choices. And Ebony, you've had a lot of choices. You had, as a young mom, especially, some major choices that you've had to make. Talk about some of the choices that you've had to calculate and how you made the decision to make those specific choices.
Okay, so I would say one big choice that I made that I didn't know the benefit of until after the fact was I did take out one student loan the whole 4 years. It was subsidized. And because, I had grants and scholarships, and it was actually during it was the summer when I came back home and worked with the Children's Defense Fund Freedom School program at my high school, which at that point it was a stipend pay. So you get paid at the end. Well, getting paid at the end doesn't take care of a kid. So I was like, I'm going to need some money. And so how I was able to arrange that is that I had maybe 1 or 2 online courses during the summer, maybe just one. And again, being able to have the conversations with financial aid, my career counselors, and at the fine print, where students don't realize what's available, Arkansas lotteries, things like that. Whatever I didn't take in the spring or the fall, I could push it to the summer. And, there are certain financial aid parameters to where it gets paid, maybe the previous semester pays for it, or maybe it sits there and it gets paid in the fall. But either way, so I took the loan out under the notion that I was paying for that course, and I took out the mess that I could, which was maybe $2,000 or $3,000 or something like that. Because again, it's subsidized, which those are good student loans. And so that it would generate a refund. So I could live off their refund for the summer until I got paid. It came out to be a good decision. And mind you, my granddaddy's word is free. I was taught, be debt free. And that when I got out of college, started working in FedEx, your first big girl purchased the vehicle. That was actually my longest standing credit account. Had it not been for that, I wouldn't have had any credit history, which
Sure.
means you get high interest rate, high, truck note. And the second decision was to, once again, look at the fine print and to show up for myself, to advocate for myself. My junior year, I also took 2 summer classes. One was tax. I could not pass tax for nothing. It took me 3 tries. To this day, I would never apply for a tax accounting job, but I took tax and something
But
else.
you hung in there, you didn't give up.
I did. I took, and I don't even know what else I took, but I decided to put it off to the summertime. And I was also interning at FedEx. So I was commuting every day, 30, 35 minutes from West Memphis, Arkansas, out to East Memphis. My son may have been 4 years old at that point, but either way, getting him off to daycare every day, working, doing classes, I would put him to bed, 9, 10 p.m., I would go to sleep, wake up 1 a.m., home, work, this, that, the other. It all came crashing down because I ended up with a C on that final exam, which means I ended up with a D in the tax class, and I failed it, which means I actually lost all of my financial aid. And I just saw it just in the blink of an eye over a 2-3 day period. I just back to high school, listening to you speak, I had to all right, what's next? And so I wrote the strongest, lengthiest appeal letter to my school and to financial aid, and they restored everything. And I said, look, I'm a mom, I'm working, I'm this, I'm that, life happened. I'll take it again in the fall, this, that, the other. This is not who I am as a student. This is I need my money. Give it back.
Girl, that just touched me. That touched me because you could have just surrendered. You could have said, okay, well, I got to take it again. I got to come with the money, and that would have been respectful too. Or you could have been so defeated that happened to you that you gave up and you didn't take the class again. You stopped going to school. And
I felt that way. Think about this was junior year. I was tired. I had been through all of this as freshman. I was tired.
Yeah. I applaud you. And I'm like, oh God, I'm about to cry because I can feel the fight in you. And I know, and I'm remembering how tiring it is. And especially when you don't have somebody who can just write a check for you and who can fight those battles for you and who can figure it out for you. But you did, and you are so much stronger. You are a strong person, obviously, then to be able to do that, but you're even stronger because you did it and you've had to go through those things. And here you are now. You got the big girl job, like you said.
Yes, I am 26. I have been with FedEx for 4 years now. I had my full-time offer from my internship by September of senior year. So I just had to graduate. I know I had a job. Like I say,
now,
back
that's
to
a
that.
blessing in and of itself. That's something I didn't have.
It is, student loans, it's only $3,000 subsidized. So you hear on the news about, oh, no payments right now, I get to benefit from that. I'm on, I have a house and I have, a vehicle, and I'm able to provide for my kid and, expose him to experiences I was blessed with as a kid. We went to Chicago a couple of weeks ago and took him to the aquarium, and he's been to the Atlanta aquarium, I'm able to, like I say, be that representation, but representation in that I'm not just this image. You don't see the good stuff. I'm willing to tell you all the bad stuff. I'm willing to tell you who you need to talk to, what you need to do. I'm open enough to say, hey, when I lived in my apartment for 2 years, I couponed this, that, the other. I did everything I needed to do to buy my house because I knew, that was my goal, and, all these other things that adulting that's overrated.
Well, I salute you. I'm so proud of you because I know, just like I know the statistics behind teen moms. About 1 in 3 graduate from high school. Less than 3% even graduate from college. And I'm part of what even started me doing the work that I'm doing is I was mainly focused on teen parents. Now it's all youth, all young people, but you are an example an amazing example of what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it, even when you got a whole other life that you're trying to take care of and provide for. That's huge. That's huge. So you have been successful, Ebone, but how would you define success? Like, what's your personal definition of success?
I would say it's mental peace. We get so caught up in everyone else's success, and the notion of it being mental peace didn't come to me until the pandemic. I can remember having a conversation with a mental health professional, and I was just, saying like, hey, I think I'm OCD because I've been in my house for the whole year and a half working from home. My kid is here. I get ticky when I see a mess. And she's like, no, you're not OCD, you're a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, that's rude. She's like, you were raised, you're right. She's like, you were raised spoiled. You were raised to chase something, to achieve something. You had high expectations. She's like, you have to give yourself permission to define what you want your life to look like, and to give yourself permission to just stop sometimes. Just take a break. Just take care of you. You're used to taking care of a kid or whatever the case may be. Again, I have multiple generations in my family, so a grandparent or a great grandparent. Mm-hmm. You have to show up for you. And it was in that moment I'm like, yes, because you get one shot at life. Unless like my great grandma, just probably her third shot at life. She's like a cat with 9 lives. Like the doctors are amazed with her, but you get one shot at life. If you don't take care of yourself, no one will take care of yourself. If you don't advocate for you, who's going to be your voice? So it is truly mental peace. My best friend, she's getting married this year, and in a few months she just bought her house. This whole process, she would ask me questions. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you what I did, and I'm gonna point you in the direction of research. So don't compare yourself to me. We're two different people. That's your money too. Do what you do, what's gonna work for you, because I want to do what's gonna work for me.
I love it. And you figured that thing out. You have really figured that out. So you started giving advice there. But my last question for you is, what advice would you have for someone who wants to be successful, but they may be dealing with some obstacles? So maybe it's another teen mom or young mom or single mom, or maybe it's just anybody else, a professional, just any advice, because you're younger, because I'm young too. But you, and I think similar to me in that, you had to grow up fast. Mm-hmm. You had to grow up fast. And I see that in you. And so you have probably more wisdom than a lot of young people around your age. And so I bet you have some good advice. So what's one piece of advice that you would share?
Definitely look for their representation. The good thing about social media is people's lives are out there. If you can find something that the same version of you that's been there, done that, do so. If you cannot, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to step out of someone else's comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Being raised in the South, being raised in a Black household, we are molded to what our family teaches us, what they expect from us. The offer from Emory, I can remember, came because I went through something called a Quest Bridge program, which just stems from like taking the SAT, and it's from like College Bridge. I think the company's College Bridge, but either way, I can remember going through it, and you get set up with a mentor, you get to go to these colleges, everything. My mom, she's an educator. She hadn't heard of it. She thought I was being scammed. Like, step out of their comfort zone, take a risk, do your research, and show up for yourself. Keep trying, keep that end goal in sight. And your goals may change once you get closer to the end one. I have not worked in accounting at all since I got my degree, but show up for yourself, ask questions, find a representation. If you can't, step outside of others' comfort zone, because it's your life, and do the best you can. You're your worst critic.
That was awesome, Ebone. Again, I am super proud of you, and I am so excited for what the future holds for you. You're an amazing young lady, and
Thank you.
I'm so grateful. And you blessed me by sharing that story with me, how back in 2013 when I was brand new at doing this and just had a heart to share my story. But to know that it impacted you in any way means everything to me. So thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, for sure.